this size, is I never realized anybody up there would be afraid to vote a certain way. If they didn't vote a certain way, then their business would go downhill. I've heard that in Salina over and over and over. But where in the world does that idea come from? That, and I think there's a division, maybe in a bigger, more populated area, people don't have that thought that they're going to be persecuted or receive a lot of peer pressure for voting one way or another. Where in the smaller community you have, the more visible you are, and maybe that lends something to that peer pressure.
I have a couple people that I've known since childhood that won't talk about politics at all, but will message me or, you know, have a phone conversation with me about what they think, and it's not how we grew up. They very much so are agreeing with the things I'm saying, but they would never publicize it because the church is going to come down on them for that, and they're going to be judged for that. So, but I mean, I guess I've put myself out there as someone that all listen. So, yeah.
One of the things that I've found with rural communities and city, and I'm talking about not just rural and urban, but also within the spectrum of color. Once you make somebody else the them, it's real easy to decide that us are the better. And one of the things that I have heard repeatedly from some people in rural communities is that we don't depend on anybody but ourselves, but they think that people in urban communities are all about welfare, and they fundamentally believe that crap. And I've been in both. I mean, my hometown is St. Louis, Missouri, but I also have relatives in Arkansas because we still have our 40 acres from slavery and they're still farming it. And they are very much conservative, and they are very much independent, and they are very much black. And they believe that those that live in the city are on welfare, and they're there because they can get things. So again, it's not just an urban and a rural community thing. It's also the way they think about why you would live in that urban community. And urban communities are just as tight as rural communities. Urban communities are communities within themselves in different areas. That's all they are. But there are a lot of people who believe that just because you are in an urban area, oh, you're getting food stamps, you're getting welfare, you're depending on somebody else to provide you with a lifestyle. Whereas if I'm out here in the urban area, I'm not dependent on anybody.
I know the conversation is going along, and I don't want to keep it long, but I think that your comment, particularly both of yours, thank you so much for that, but about the interests of workers, of humans being the same, regardless of where you are, whatever your circumstance. But I think one thing we all have to bring to awareness is the power of large entities, the billionaires, who now presently control the government. That point well made.
Absolutely.
If we don't have a government that we are controlling, it will be controlled by the billionaires, and those are not workers' standards. So no matter what, we can have an independent street, but we're together when it comes to look at factory farming. I mean, you look around, we don't need to talk about that, right? Getting broadband out to rural areas, et cetera, et cetera. Over and over again, the issues we're dealing with can't be dealt with by whatever small community. Even the smallest line. So, if you want to get any of those banners out there, by the way, in rural areas where people will see them in the country, talk to us because we need to get it out there.
Good idea.
Well, I'd like to follow up on what you said about it. I think, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but to me that almost sounds sort of schizophrenic when people say rural areas are sort of glorify their independence, but they are massively dependent on agricultural subsidies.
Right.
No, but don't tell them that.
That's not welfare, Jeff.
It's
different.
Yeah, my welfare is different
Talking
than
about
your welfare.
Did you have more?
Well, no, just that, you know, I think it's sort of silly for farmers to say, well, we're independent. But I mean, many of those subsidies go to big farmers. That's the whole deal, to get big farms. But for farmers to say, oh, we're independent, that's just almost schizophrenic.
I think they judge it differently because they consider themselves, for example, they create jobs, you know, in that rural community. They think the same way. I mean, farms essentially are medium to large businesses. So they think of themselves as a business, and other businesses get government subsidies. And so I think they think of themselves as a business. They think of themselves as more entitled to those subsidies than just a regular person because, oh, they create jobs, they create wealth. So they have a narrative that they are, I mean, it doesn't even cross their mind that it's the same because they're just receiving the government subsidy that they earn by contributing to the economy. And I think that's the difference.
Well, and not just farming, you look at how much more it costs to educate a student out west, or to how many grants and subsidies do hospitals get to try to keep open. I mean, it's a lot more per person cost to operate so many of those services.
Rural areas are very expensive, and yet they don't get the same level of care. They don't get the same level, they don't get the same quality of care regardless of the expense.
And on the other hand, the farmers are also really concerned about the monopolies that decide how much they're going to get for their grain, which is pitiful, or what they're going to get for their livestock.
Right.
And because they're controlled by a small group. I think our state laws is one place where we can look that are really stacked against workers of all stripes. Just a whole raft of them.
Absolutely.
A whole raft of them.
Yeah.
Like employment at will. I mean, you can be fired without being given a reason, without given notice. It can be because you did your job. It can be because you stepped on somebody's toes. It can be because they don't like the way you look.
My grandfather had a hard time comprehending that when I told them about that, because, you know, they all work for unions, and they're like, they can do what? I said, oh yeah, Kansas has employee at will. They just thought that was nuts.
And under Brown Act, that then extended to civil service. So anybody who thinks they're going to be a civil servant is a political appointee. It's done very well.
Did I see a hand back here? Or were you? No? Okay. And if there's no more questions, then, you know, we can spend the rest of the time, I mean, you know, yeah, well, thanks everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
To the audience for coming out, because it's important, you know, for giving your afternoon to come here. You know, we may not have had the GOP on the panel, but the discussion that happened was really inspiring. And, you know, it didn't stick to a traditional town hall format of question and answer, but still all the engagement and participation of everyone was really inspiring. And so, you know, so I hope that all of you will continue to be engaged. You seem like a very engaged group. So, and thank you to our panelists. If you haven't, signed our contact sheet so that you can stay involved with what we're doing and keep track of what we're doing. There we have the pen and paper back here. We also have these QR codes so that you can enter it digitally on our website. But,
Also, thank you to the Salina Library.
Yeah.
That's such a great group.
So I go around to different schools and I do special.
great, thanks y'all.
Thank you.
If anyone is interested, I have a digital petition to stop Core Civic, the people of Leavenworth.
Oh, yeah.